It's called Order City of Port Richey City Council Town Hall Meeting, Monday, June 17th, 2024.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, you take roll, please.
Mayor John Eric Hoover,
Here.
Vice Mayor Linda Rodriguez,
Here.
Councilman David Mueller,
Here.
Councilwoman Cherokee Sampson. Let the record show that Councilwoman Cherokee Sampson is absent from tonight's meeting. Councilman Robert Hubbard,
Here.
City Manager Matthew Cobbler.
Here. Thank you. Okay, welcome to Town Hall. Just got a couple ground rules I'm going to go over. Number one, this is your meeting. Agenda is an open discussion. So there's no topics off discussion. What we do is you guys come up to the podium. I don't have any sign-ups, so we'll do by show of hands, get started. We're going to stay on topic. So if somebody comes up and starts a topic, we're going to continue to stay on that topic until that topic is exhausted. So you'll have a chance, if you want to comment on that particular topic, go ahead and raise your hand. We'll get you up there. The council can speak back, so you can ask questions. Again, this is an open dialogue for you guys to find information, and we'll keep it for the sake of minutes. We'll keep one topic at a time. Okay. Be kind and respectful to everyone. Be attentive and not disruptive. So take this time now to silence your cell phones and try to keep the talking at a minimum, so you don't interrupt the speakers or the council. Don't monopolize the meeting. There's a lot of people here that want to probably have something to say, so make sure that you are concise in what you want to talk about and then move on to the next. Be patient. This is a relatively new meeting. We've had a few of these now, and we want to kind of tailor those to what works, what doesn't work. And that's one of the things that came out of these meetings is to keep on topic instead of being scattered around. So if you have any suggestions, whatever, feel free to let us know afterwards or even during. Finally, have fun and be productive. There's one thing we all have in common. We want the city to be the best it can be. And so we're all here for that same reason. So let's collaborate and make that happen. And that's all I've got. And with that, I don't have any signups. So by show of hands, someone would like to speak. And before I do that, actually, I know we've got a few people on the Zoom. You should have a little icon there to raise your hand. So if you want to speak, go ahead and put that hand up, and then I ask you to let me know if there's anybody on there that wants to speak, and we'll move over to you guys. So show of hands. Who'd like to start? Oh, Dave? Yes.
I was going to ask, and since we can't hear from out there in TV land, we need to replace these and take a look at it, because I just spent the afternoon straining to listen to this mic. So we need to figure it out. But I was going to ask, are we going to go around here or just going to open it up?
Let's open the floor. We have
At the end, because I got some stuff to say.
That's different. I'm so shocked.
Yeah, that is a surprise. I got to admit as well. But so
I
let's
can go at the end.
we'll if we have some time at the end, we can definitely open up for that. And maybe some of the stuff you want to talk about will get brought up, and you can interject as well.
I can wait.
Show of hands. Who would like to start us off?
Wow, I'll go.
All right, here you go. Thank you. And just so everybody knows, in case you're new here, when you come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then feel free to engage.
I'm Jerry Griffin. I live at 7638 Deidre Circle. And I didn't come here to prepared to talk about anything really, but I kind of expected 700 and some people here after that survey we took. There's a lot of complaining going on the town hall site, but nobody's coming up with any resolutions. There's a lot on you guys to come up with a way to pay for all these streets and water lines and things like that. But how are we going to do that? It's a question that I'm asking. How does anybody here or outside that's making all the complaints about people coming to the city and developing, nobody has any ideas how to come up with money other than borrowing money. And we can't. Once you have no debt, you want to stay that way. You don't want to borrow money because that sets you back in life. Everybody knows when you have your house paid for, you don't go take a loan against it and keep, going again. But I guess you guys up here are going to have to make a decision because about what you're going to do about this developer, because that property up there has been for sale for 2 years. Is that correct? 2.5 years?
I have no idea how long.
And nobody's bit the hook on it yet. So everybody's sitting back and saying, okay, well, we'll wait for the next developer and we'll see what they're going to offer. But me personally, I'm okay with the high rise, the mid rise, the low rise, whatever. But what I'm not okay with is not getting new water pipes and new roads. And that should be at the front of whatever you guys decide to do. And in the past, nobody ever talks about that issue. They just push it off to the next elected officials, which are you guys, so good luck with this. But how are you going to pay for it? That's the question here. If you don't choose this developer as somebody to enhance, the waterfront district, that area is going to die. Over the years, it's gotten worse and worse and worse, and nobody's making any money down there. You can't run a business and survive on staying busy Friday and Saturday night. It's not going to work. They're all going to eventually die. Along with each business that dies, the property values go down. As the property values go down, the vultures come in, the land development companies, and they'll buy each one of them up, shut them down until the next guy fails, and they'll own all of them, and the city's going to die. You got a water treatment facility, right? That's due to be rebuilt. What is it? 5 years from now? And not to mention our pipes are 100 years old, our roads are crumbling. I like this town. I've been here a long time and I want to stay here, but there has to be some way to fix this without, borrowing money for the water plant, borrowing money for roads, borrowing money for the water. It's just going to be the same thing. Taxes will go up and up and up, anyway, that's my thoughts on it. I thought that's why we were here tonight, to discuss this, so that's what I'm bringing forward to start the meeting.
Yeah.
Good evening.
Thanks, Jerry. I'll make a couple comments on that, and then I can see if anybody else wants to comment. Obviously, on our June 11th meeting, we went over the survey results that came back. I had a lengthy conversation with the public during that time about the survey results and some of the obligations that the city has that we need to address. Jerry, absolutely right. There's a lot of the bills have come due, if you will. We've got failing infrastructure, water pipes, sewer pipes, drainage problems as we're one hurricane away from being wiped out if it hits us just right. There's a lot of things going on that we need to address. Water treatment facility, another one. And to answer your question, there's only certain, again, as I spoke on June 11th, there's only a few ways that the city can bring in money. We can tax the residents. And I specifically pointed out that our millage rate is at 6.53. We can go to 10 by Florida statute. We can go up 1% a year, or 1 mil per year until we get there. So within a few years, we could be at 10, and that hurts people's pocketbook, and some hurts really big. If you're not paying a lot of taxes, it's going to be still going to be almost double, but double of say $1 is $2, whereas double of $1,000 is $2,000. So the higher property value you have, the more that impacts, and so that's not a good solution. We want to try to minimize the impact of the residents, but that's an option. Right, taking out bonds. we have to pay back. Again, it's a loan. You spread it out over time, but again, it comes back to the citizens that we have here to have to pay that back. Again, that's another way to fund some of these things. You have grants that are available if you get selected for those, and we apply for a lot of those. Some we get, some we don't. You can ask for appropriations from the legislature. Again, we're starting to engage in that process to see if we can bring in some money for that. I can use an example. This past budget, City of Newport Richey needs a fire station, and they asked for an appropriation for, I think it's $1.1 million, and they have received that. That was part of the budget package, so they're going to get help from the legislature. We're going to look towards participating in that process as well to see if we can get some money from the legislature to help. Or, which is really probably the easiest way is redevelopment and development in general. The more economic development we can have in the city, the more development we can have. And again, I use that term loosely because we don't want to grow too fast. We don't want to grow wrong where we don't have the infrastructure to support it. But we need to grow, and the nice thing about growing is that brings in new money to the city to offset those costs. And so while we heard loud and clear some of the survey results that there was a very low tolerance for growth, and especially very low tolerance from how high we grow, there's plus and minuses to all those variables. And so, as I mentioned at the last meeting, we need to be smart up here. We need to take all these different data points. And I also want to say about these data points, that survey that we put out, it's a data point, right? It wasn't a vote. It's just a data point. Take the pulse of the community, see what they think. And we can take those results into consideration as we start to negotiate with developers. We start to look at codes and what we should change. We take that into consideration. But if you look at the big picture, there's a lot of big picture things that the residents want as well. So when a group of residents say they don't want development, they also don't want to raise their taxes. They don't want us to neglect our roads. They don't want us to neglect our infrastructure. They don't want us to not neglect our parks. The list goes on and on. But at the end of the day, you do need funds to be able to address these things. And so as a council, as we take on these different data points, it's our role to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the community. So with that, I'll yield to my colleagues if they have any other things they want to say.
No, I think you nailed it. And you know what else that survey did not address? It was how do you like A, B, or C? But they did not elaborate on the consequences of choosing an A, B, or C, because each decision really has a consequence behind it. If you want a low structure, you might not have any access to the waterfront. That was a big thing that people wanted. So there are some disconnects in there that we need to work through as a group and try to figure out, well, how do we get the best of everything so that we as a city, a community, a council, obtain the best picture for the residents and attract growth at a balanced rate that we can sustain with our resources.
If you're on Zoom, if you could mute, and actually you might be able to mute the whole.
And just for reference purposes, I pulled some numbers off of the Pasco tax assessor site, and all of the properties down in the waterfront district combined only pay less than $50,000 a year that contribute to the city. And in my opinion, I think that's some of the most valuable property in our city. And it's unfortunate that it's not developed. It's sat undeveloped for a period of time, and we're missing an opportunity there. And this is the thing. We need to do something smart with this opportunity that we have as a city and somehow bring the citizens' needs to the community, as well as what we need in a revenue side to sustain the repairs and maintenance and infrastructure that the city has needed for a long time. Anyway, that's my observation.
And Alexander, just real quick on that number, like they said, that's the number I had saw as well that our waterfront overlay district properties, Catches, Hooters, all the stuff down there, including the lot that Gill Dogs owns, the old trailer park lot, we get about $50,000 in tax revenue from that. And that is our focal point city. That's our best opportunity for really to increase our income if we redevelop that area, because those places have been there for a while and they just don't grow in value. And one thing I want to point out, so we get $50,000 a year from that. The original plan, as we were looking to redevelop that area from the city perspective, was to put $2.5 million of CRA money in that to do some roads, landscaping, and lighting. So if you think it from the aspect of we're going to commit $2.5 million of your CRA money that's used to help fix blight to get a return of $50,000 a year in taxes, that takes a long time to get that payback, right? So it really behooves us to entertain development opportunities, especially if those development opportunities come with a development group that's actually willing to engage the city to help collaboratively bring something nice to the city and really not only come in and redevelop that, but also give some things to the residents and make that a destination area. And so there's a huge financial benefit for that. And also, just for comparative purposes, I alluded to this at the last meeting, that our number one from our budget packet last year, our number one single-owned entity, Villa Bay at the end of Old Post Road. We have a couple people here that actually live in that development. That development is our number one producer, and its valuation is $16.5 million, I believe. And so they bring in city on the contrast $125,000 a year in revenue. So we've got that little development of multifamily at the end of Old Post Road that's providing $125,000 from a single entity, where our waterfront district is giving $50,000. So that's just to keep that in perspective. One more thing on numbers, if we can look at Sand Pebble. I mentioned that Sand Pebble, those condos back there, they're individually owned. But if you pull all those together, if the numbers are correct, they have a valuation of $45.2 million, and they contribute almost $300,000 in tax revenue. So we're really missing the boat down at the waterfront, literally. There's a lot of money to be brought in the city that is really life-changing for the city, that we can really start to get some of these things that we haven't addressed in such a long time. That's the economic engine to make that happen. And if it's developed right, and we provide some of those public spaces, and we can actually have better access, we can have things to do, restaurants, retail, other things, and we can also have a great amount of money come into the city to help defray our costs and get things done. So, thanks for bringing those numbers up. It's good stuff. Bob, do you have anything to add?
A couple of more specific things people have been concerned about is flooding over on Washington and on the east side of Washington specifically. Talking to Matt, we're trying to get lift stations for storm drains because the water obviously isn't going to flow up out of there. So we got to pump it up so it drains properly to try to eliminate that flooding over there, as well as Limestone and Sunset Road. There's some flooding there too. Matt's familiar with lift stations with storm drains, and we're going to try to strategically locate these so we don't need only what we need, and hopefully the citizens allow us to put it near their house and get the water pumped out there when it storms, because it's the only way we're going to get it out of there. Also clean up some drains. You looked at some of the storm drains that were clogged. We're going to be cleaning them up too. Water lines, fresh water, drinking water. We've got a grant hopefully coming through in August, $40 million hopefully to rebuild our plant. We'd also like to drill deeper wells. The process we go through right now that our utilities manager does is a phenomenal job. It takes about an acre of land just to clean the iron out of our water. And the process is it's a lot of work. So if we can get cleaner water, deeper water with this grant, also the possibility of selling water, we can profit off some of our efforts to get fresher water. Then distribute it is a whole nother issue of somewhere around $50 to $70 million. We can't tax you that much. So we're looking on the outside to get some help with that, which there is some help for that also. So those are just some of the little issues that we're working on, and Matt's going to be working on, our city manager, to get that straightened out for us. it's a process. And we're working on it all the time, trying to get these things done, but they need to get done. That's all I got right at the moment.
Liz, got anything to add?
Yeah, the code right now says that we can develop up to 72 feet. The word around was up to 100 feet is what everybody has heard. And that's what everybody was against, in my opinion. It's a drastic change. Change is constant, obviously we know that. But it's also scary. Nobody wants to be Clearwater. That was said in the survey. Nobody wants to be Clearwater. You said Avila Bay brought in how much? 50 million?
There's 16 and a half.
150,000? No, that was the, what was?
125,000.
120,000. That's, how many stories is that? 3? Or 2?
I think it's 3. 3, yeah, probably.
3 stories. And it brought in all that money. And I think what was shown to us was the vision, but it's not an exact concrete plan. What was shown to us were major multifamily right on the water, and that's scary to people. We go down there for that. We go to Gildogs for the water, to sit on the water. There's no assurances for the residents, and I know it's been said that, yes, you'll be able to go on the rooftop, you'll be able to do this, but there's no assurances in a vision. That's the problem. If what was brought to us is more concrete, you might get more resident impact. And they're sitting here, so I'm looking at you guys, so I recognize that. You might get better feedback, but it's scary to say, I want to go to Gildogs and I want to sit on the water, and there will no be Gildogs. It will be an inside restaurant with maybe a window. People like to sit outside. It's Florida. So a vision is changeable, it's movable, it's pliable. You don't have to do anything in a vision. There's no concrete thing that says to the residents, this is what we're going to do. This is our plan. This is our plan, and this is what we want to do. It was beautiful. The plans were gorgeous, but that's what the problem was. So the developers could go right now and put 72 feet up, and that's it. We have nothing to say about it, right? So it's possible. It's 100 feet, 10 stories is scary to people because there's nothing for the residents. You're bringing in residents. Yes, you're bringing in money. And yes, we did plan to, one of the comments talking about social media was we didn't do anything down in the waterfront district. Well, we had a plan, but the construction people weren't coming back with this stuff. And you were against it, and I was absolutely for fixing the roads, putting sidewalks, putting better lighting in there so people could walk around down there. I was a big supporter of that, and I still am, because there's not a draw down there, and we need to fix it. So what came first, the chicken or the egg? Right? This sidewalks, the lighting has been in the works for 3 years or more, and we have not been able to do it because of the contractors not giving us bids back. We can't make them build it. So it's difficult. I understand the residents, and we need to listen to them as well as work with the developers. But we need to work together. Just saying, this is what we want. We don't want to work with you. That's what we were told. I've not spoken to them, so I don't know that. That's what was said to us. That's what was said. We need to work with them. Well, they need to work with us too, and we need to come up with a compromise. This is not just dictatorship. We have to work together.
Yeah. Well, what I heard at that meeting, I was at the CAC meeting as well. They wanted some concessions, and the exchange for those concessions were more public space by pulling the buildings back from the waterfront, Riverwalk, and parking to accommodate public access down. And in exchange, they wanted to build the buildings a little higher, 30 feet higher, and potentially increase density because they are pulling that footprint back and allowing public space. So that was what they said.
Yes, but
We haven't had any discussions with them, to my knowledge. And maybe Matt has had some additional discussions, but I haven't had anything other than what I've heard there and what was originally presented. So certainly, like you indicated, that anybody can buy anything down there right now. There's probably around 10 acres or 12 acres for sale. They could buy and build a 72-foot building, put a wall around it, and have a happy day, and they don't need us. But I'd like to still have access, and I'd like to have the residents participate in that. And I think there's a way that we can meet the middle and meet to some agreeable thing that would be beneficial, one, to the community and the residents, and also the buildings. Now, if we just use the Gildog property by itself, that's all the pieces, and they put $100 million of property into there, that's about $650,000 a year of taxes that come into the city. If you do that same thing with the casino property and the rest of it there, that's under that's either vacant, it's dirt right now, in a bait shop, you could generate another $700,000. That's about $1.2 to $1.3 million coming in every year that could sustain a bond payment on infrastructure in the entire city. So it's important that we listen and look and evaluate all the facts as they come.
Yeah, and you're right. But a vision is not a concrete plan. There is no assurances to the residents. They could put 100 feet and they could still wall it off, as you said, on to 72 foot. I mean, because just because you say it doesn't mean it's so. It's got to be a negotiation between the city,
Right.
and that's,
We want specifics.
you gotta have specifics. So
Right.
before we say, yes, you can go 100 feet, the residents, I think, want to know that, yes, those things are going to be in there. Because they could change their mind. They own it. They can change. Once they buy it, whoever the developer is, once they buy it, they could do whatever they want. So if you buy it, if you give it to this developer, they could say, yep, look, we got 100 feet. And they could say, let's sell it to somebody who doesn't have the scruples or who don't live here like these people do. I mean, they could do that. I mean, Newport Richie had that across from Beef O'Brady's Fort. 15 years it was vacant because developers started it and then it finished and then it sat vacant. It happens. How many on Washington for 25 years that is being built and abandoned and built and abandoned and built and abandoned 4 or 5 times. That was going to be a 4-story ALF. That was going to be individual homes. I lived behind it. I know. Somebody put roads in and abandoned it for 15 years or 10 years or whatever it was. Abandoned it. That could happen. And nobody wants that down in the waterfront district. So a vision is not a plan. And I understand they didn't want to do a plan because it costs money. And I agree with, I understand that. But I don't want to say, yes, you can have that. And we're going to build 100 stories and we're going to be Clearwater. And that's it.
Mr. Copperwood.
So the I guess the conundrum we have though is for them to come forward. So let me give it a different approach. So other states that I've been in, the development codes for those cities, because the state doesn't tie the development codes to the comprehensive land use plan. I could easily sit down with this developer in those states and kind of do exactly what you're suggesting, which is let's negotiate. What is it you're willing, what is it you need to do? What is it that we see as a community that we need to do within that? And working together, we come up with something probably close to what would be acceptable and start that land use process where the developer could move forward. Florida isn't like that. Florida says you have to tie your development code directly to your land use plan. So me sitting down with the developer, what my end line is that, in the WOD, you can have a density up to 15. And you can go up to, in certain circumstances, 72 feet. That's as far as I can negotiate. The developer, in this case, has come forward and said, those numbers don't work for us. And what they're asking for is, an understanding of what flexibility they would have to be able to do a project. But we can't even get there because we don't know what that flexibility is. And I can't sit there and say, well, I think the flexibility is 36, per acre in terms of density. and 83 feet, because I'd be saying something that I have no basis for, right? And so they can't come forward with anything so they know what that ultimate flexibility is. And the way that in Florida you establish that flexibility is by your land use plan, saying ultimately this is the maximum that we as a community think that's possible. Let's say, and just pulling the number out, let's say in WOD, in C3 and C2 and all those, the limit was 100 per acre. You know, we would all sit here and say 100 per acre is a ridiculous number, right? We wouldn't agree to that probably, unless, you know, there was a lot of land and a lot of infrastructure that would support that. And so we would probably be saying, you know, we think we could live with 45, but we couldn't live with 100. And so we would have the ability to negotiate that, right? Because, you know, they would come back and say, we're willing to do this. And we say, well, based upon these things, we can, you know, negotiate maybe instead of 45, 50. And that's how negotiation would work.
Mhm.
We don't have that. And the only way to get, you know, negotiation is to get flexibility within our land use plan that allows us to negotiate going forward. So the strategy that we've developed because of that is, okay, let's start this process. Let's talk with the public. Let's understand what are those things that are very important to our residents, so we can start establishing, you know, what are those trade-offs that need to be, that when, you know, you all decide what it is you want to do, we can say, okay, these are the things that we are going to need for council to agree to any type of increase in flexibility for the developers. And that's kind of where we're at now is understanding, you know, what the public has said. And I think, you know, the public, you know, some members of the public, you know, want us to take everything down to 24 feet. You know, we have buildings over there right now that are over 45 feet. So we're not going to, you know, reduce that down because
Right.
it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But they do, I think, have some legitimate ideas of you know, what's important to them and things that we need to, you know, hold very closely to us when we sit down and negotiate. But again, a negotiation isn't a one-sided thing. It's we give here, you give there. And I think the frustrating part from my perspective is that, you know, I think we have a developer that's willing to negotiate, but we don't have the ability to sit down and negotiate with them. And so that's why I think it's a little bit difficult to get to that point where we can come up with the project.
And there is contractual ways to work those guarantees in. It was a concern, and it is a concern, right? Because things happen. There's the city has the ability to put a developer agreement in place, and that says in exchange for these certain things, we're going to allow you to go this high, this much dense, but in return for that, we get these things on the ground. Maybe the all first level is commercial, retail, restaurant, whatever. Maybe we say we want a rooftop restaurant in there. We want a boardwalk put around there. So we can find those things that the public wants to have down there and get that into the agreement as we negotiate, if we have the ability to negotiate, so that both parties at the end of the day come up with a solution that makes sense for the city as a whole. And the beauty of this is this is not just some stranger coming in and just wants to try to put something down there, flip a buck, and leave. This individual is wanting to build something in the community that they live in and that their children live in. And they have friends here that when they go home, they see them on the street. You know, they have they got real skin in the game. And they're also putting a lot of money on the line to be able to develop that. And it's just a really unique opportunity. And so, you know, I advocate for that because it just makes sense, not because I stand to benefit anything. And I've seen that out in the public as well, talking about corruption and kickbacks and all that. And I'll be the first to tell you, what I get from the city, I make $360 a month, $4,320 a year, the same salary that each one of these council members up here make. There is no corruption. My only agenda for this city, and I promise you from the bottom of my heart, God is my witness, is to make this city the best it can be, to pay for its obligations, to make it nice, because I live here and I want that. And the last thing I want is to go down to the waterfront and not have any access and not be able to go do something. I want that place to be something I can walk from my house to and go have an ice cream or go eat dinner and have some choices and be able to walk around the water and possibly go over, underneath the bridge and walk over there and go up Grand and go visit Newport Richie. I mean, the potential is off the charts in the city. And we have the opportunity to really create something nice. And that's what I want. And I'm sure that once it was done and the community was a part of that process, they probably feel the same way.
Yeah, there's no more waterfront. This is it. We're the last holdout, so we're going to get the best. When it comes, we're going to get the best. That's the way it's going.
And by no means am I saying open up the floodgates and just let chaos ensue. I can tell you from my seat right here, in the decision-making process, there's negotiations. There's a saying that the owner of Guild Dogs always says, there's middle ground that can be found. And I think there's a lot of middle ground out there. And I think if we're willing to negotiate with an actual resident partner in the city that wants to negotiate with us, we can really build something nice. So,
One more thing.
yes. That's David.
I won't be long. In my ride around town today,
Okay, Dave, 1 second.
I just want to let you know that I have someone on Zoom that has had their hand raised.
Okay.
So whichever order you.
Yeah, so if you're on Zoom and you got hand raised, I'm going to get you right after the lady at the podium, after Dave.
in my ride around town this morning, I ran into an individual and we had a very lengthy discussion on this same issue. And he pointed to the fact that once upon a time, Whiskey Joe's was brought before this council, and people didn't want it to come into the town. They wanted some medical center there. And to me, right now, Whiskey Joe's is perfectly situated there. It was a situation that people didn't want. Maybe Linda, I don't know.
I don't know anything about that.
But this is what he conveyed to me, and it's an actual perfect restaurant facility. They've cleaned their act up. You can bring kids there, and that's another problem. You don't have the family entertainment there. That's one place that you do. So,
3 minutes ago.
Thanks, Dave. Name and address for the record.
Thank you.
And just clarify, you're on the same topic, correct?
Yes. So my name is Tina Gordon, and I live at 5442 Miles Boulevard. And thank you for this opportunity, Mayor, City Councilmen, women, City Manager, City staff, to have this open discussion. I just wanted to plea to everybody on City Council before they do go into possibly changing an ordinance to really listen to the community. I live 2 doors down from Guild Dogs, and we love it there. Our whole neighborhood loves it there because it's a community that's been built, for a long time. And we love it because it's a walkable place to join in friendships and celebrations and family. And I have my kids and my grandkids that are my legacy, and we want to keep this home within the family. But having condos, if we do go in between, the 15 to 100, and let's just say 60, like the plan had noted, right? We have 60 units to sell out. And then in one building, second building's 120, third building's 180. So how many people will be in that facility, right? An extra possibly 300 residents, right? And then our utilities cannot sustain, or I don't see any sustainability plans in place that our storm drains can handle what we even have now. Our water treatment plant can even handle what we have now, and that we aren't going to have to bid out for municipal or mutual aid for other ancillary things that we'll need, like fire department, because we don't have a ladder right now. So every time there's a fire over 4 feet, we have to call for mutual aid. That gets expensive. I I'm just pleading with you all to please make good decisions for this community, because that's why we all voted on each and every one of you. And there have been a lot of rumors on personal agendas and kickbacks and corruptions. Yes, there has been. But at the end of the day, I want you to all think about what it's going to do to our roads. And there are other ways that we could build revenue, because our vacancy rate for our businesses right now are sky high in Port Richey. So why don't we take that CRA money and incent businesses to fill those vacancies, so then you can make more tax dollars than a residential taxing would be, plus ancillary fees for BTRs and things like that. There are other ways that we can come to a compromise and maybe build smaller story structures that our city can maintain right now with what we have, because that water treatment plant, if we don't get the grants are guaranteed, right? And there are no guarantees in regards to a developer coming in, like Councilwoman Rodriguez noted. Stonehaven in Newport Richey lost their developer, right? And so trying to find a new developer to come in and build the original vision that was in their plan is nothing like it is today. So things could happen. There is no guarantee. You may say there's a guarantee, but there's no other guarantee that that developer might not be able to sell out the project or even complete the project. And then where will we be then? The city will have an empty lot or a half-completed property that's useless to the city and not gaining any tax dollars on that right now. So please hear us out. I'm pleading to you, please hear what the community wants. That 700 something poll feedback, right? It's important that you listen to us and come to a compromise, because we all want our city wonderful and beautiful and to thrive, right? So thank you.
Thank you. Did not get a Zoom.
Zoom.
No, she put her hand down.
Change your
You
mind.
guys might have addressed.
Okay. Anyone else on Waterford? Chet?
Chet Jasek, 5134 Miller Bayou Drive. Just to tag on to Linda's and this lady's comments, just worried about things starting and not getting done. I mean, it took a long time for the hacienda to finally get done. It really bothers me about the apartments at the end of Old Post Road down by Energy Management. That was originally, we voted on that, it was going to be condos. And all of a sudden now it's Section 8 apartments. Just things happen, you know, and I'm just worried about the same thing. It's nice, I want to see that place. I mean, Gill Dogs, this city fought Gill Dogs like crazy to get what he's got done there. I mean, I don't know what they other council people and managers thought, but they hammered him everything he wanted to do, and he ended up still doing stuff and making it nice. Same thing, like I said, for Whiskey Joe's. I mean, that's a perfect thing for our locations, perfect. And if we can get more of that down there, that's family friendly, that's water accessible, I think that's what we need to do. But again, the big thing is what's happening when things start rolling and all of a sudden the money dries up, the city starts fighting. I mean, we had where Eric owns the trailer park that he took down. I mean, at one time there was going to be a hotel there. Boy, the city screwed that up. I mean, they made so many demands and so many things against that development, they went away. Same thing for the college that was going to be there. I mean, they're going to build that college here, which is a beautiful college down there. And we did the same thing. We negotiated so much, they said, screw you, and they got out of here. So I just don't hope this doesn't happen this time around. We've been trying to develop that waterfront district since I started here in 1998. And I've seen so many plans and so many overlays and everything else. I just hope it happens this time. good luck. That's all I gotta say.
Thanks, Chet. Just a couple points. Again, he was mentioning about the development I stated, Villa Bay down at the end of Old Post Road. Again, top number one single owned entity in the city, $16.5 million valuation. So whatever it is, right? And I've been back there, and it's nice. We've got friends of ours that live back in there. Again, I don't know the history behind it. I know when I first moved to town, it was a vacant lot. It had the sign, I think, out front of Villa Bay, and nothing was going on. I think there was some financial trouble or whatever when they bought that and it didn't go through. But it is a very nice area now. It houses a lot of people, and it brings a lot of revenue, $125,000 a year in revenue, almost 3 times what our waterfront's bringing in. So, and to your point, again, you've seen stuff come and go. There's been a lot of dysfunction within the city on development, and people rise up against things and things don't get done. And so what we have is empty lots. There's a reason that they're empty, and that's because at the price that they have to be purchased at, you have to have something that will at least bring a return on investment, at least get your money back, right? Nobody's going to come in here and pay millions upon millions of dollars to lose millions upon millions of dollars. That's why they said empty. And so a big issue we have, and probably the largest issue, is our density. It's a very anemic number. I think our highest density in the city is 18 per gross acre. And that's just not a lot, especially when you talk about building a little bit high, even a 72-foot building. With at the waterfront, 15 units per acre, those would have to be penthouses. They go for millions of dollars a piece in order to make that financial transaction work. And then if you built that, you would have to hope that people would come in and buy those at those prices. And if you look out over some of our city, that may not be where people living at a couple $1 million penthouse on a 70-foot high building would want to see, right? And we've got dredging and water quality issues and all these things. So that's not a very viable project to spend that kind of money. So, but good points. Well,
Somebody on
She raised her hand again, so I'm going to try to
You-
see if she.
you okay? Go to her real quick, and then we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
So we'll turn it over to Zoom.
Yes, my name is Karen, and I live at 3974 Green Falls Drive. I've been listening to pretty much everybody's back and forth discussion about, we all want new pipes, water pipes. We all want new drainage because we need it for hurricane season and such coming in. My husband and I, we worry about, the town and them being able to pay for everything. We worry about them developing the wooded area that we have around us and what they're looking to put there. We're from New York. We've had them go through and had the councils let people build things that were inappropriate for the area. My thought on the waterfront area is, yes, you can build up some, but it wouldn't look right to have a 10-story building there with a bunch of people just for the congestion. 19's already congested as it is. So I work in the construction industry, so I know that they can negotiate with you, and they do come up with plans prior to that you can say, I want this switched or I need that switched. So I kind of discount the argument that there's no negotiation that you can have a conversation with them about, because if they want to, it costs a little bit of money, but if you're planning on making a lot of money, then they'll go forward and come up with a viable plan, present it, and then go and negotiate from there with what the vision is of the community and with what the vision is, so that they can make the money that's worth them going and renovating the area to make it beautiful, which is what I think everybody in the community wants. But that's pretty much all I have to say today.
Thank you. Going back to the negotiation, the problem we have is, as Matt reiterated, is the only thing he can negotiate at this particular time is 72-foot high in the waterfront overlay district of 15 density. So we don't have the negotiating power. We've got an arbitrarily low ceiling on some of that, right? And so one of the things we can look at is if we, in our plan, if we allow for a bigger bucket of density in that we are able to negotiate, that doesn't mean that somebody can come in and just do it. that just gives him the tools to be able to negotiate those things. But we don't have that ability right now. It's like, I've got $10 in my pocket, and that's all I got. So there's nothing else to give. So, but if I get a bank account with $1,000 in it, then and I say, I'm dealing with $10 increments, then I have some negotiating power based on our plan that we can divvy out some additional density, what have you, height, and is that a fair statement to say? So there's definitely negotiation ability, but from our respect, we don't have any negotiating ability because we don't have anything to give. So that's the challenge we have to address so that we can do that. And once we are able to do that, then we can start to look at these things and what can we get within that negotiation as far as public amenities and things, and we can keep that area exactly how the residents want it. Maybe not exactly how it is, but some of the features in that they really want. One of the things I'd mentioned at the June 11th meeting is encourage residents to go down to Tampa, to Midtown Tampa. I encourage you to do the same and kind of take a look at that concept, as well as Hyde Park Village. You have shops, retail, and stuff on the bottom level, and Hyde Park there's even some on the second level. But above that you have multifamily residents. And so when you're down there, you're walking around Midtown Tampa. In the center, there's a couple on each side of a green space area where they're playing cornhole or whatever they have out there. There's a bar restaurant on both sides. As you walk around the corridor, there's different retail shops, 12, 13 different eateries, I think, down there. But if you look up in the air, you'll see that there's 4 or 5 stories of multifamily residential with balconies that if you live there, they come out and they can look over the courtyard. So I think at eye level, you can create something. And again, if you're not so worked up about how high things go, the higher a building can go, the less space on the ground it can take up, right? Which opens up more public space. So if you got taller buildings that you can look and see through and see the water, as opposed to short, fat buildings that you can't see through, and again, 24-foot high, 75-foot high, 100-foot high, you can't see through them standing down there anyway. So the real benefit to height is the footprint. And again, that's that negotiation thing. If we have that, we can actually negotiate more public space than we've ever had down there now. Because at the end of the day, the only true public space we have, and we will remain to have, is the Nick's Park, the boat ramp, right? And that's it. Now some people think, Gill Dog's restaurant or Catch's restaurant, that those are public, and the public can go there, but if they're closed, you can't go in Catch's and go out on the deck and look out over the water, right? But if we had a lighted boardwalk all the way around, you can walk around any time, you don't need to be in those businesses to enjoy that. You have access. So, and you can go down there and there maybe be a public space where they're throwing some cornhole, or they're a music venue where they're having some music. There's potential at the wazoo down there that we can negotiate with a developer. If they could come in and develop a project and get a good return on investment, the city can get a good return on investment to deploy capital to the rest of the city where we need these infrastructure things, and have a place down at the waterfront. I mean, it's just win, win, win. So, and that's our job, is to make sure that we listen to the public, which we do. I read through all the comments that was in that survey. I looked at all the data points, and I hear the concerns loud and clear. And in my decision making, I take that into consideration. But I also take consideration all the other things as well, because there's a balance, right? And if I want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I got to have peanut butter, I got to have jelly, I got to have bread, right? If I'm missing one of those components, I don't have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And so if we want a vibrant city with places to do, there's other aspects of that. If we want to fix our infrastructure, it takes that economic engine. And I'll bring up one more thing, and then I'll open it back up. There was some comments made about the restaurants and stuff down there. They're hurting, okay? And that's evidenced by Gill Dogs is closing, regardless of what happens with that property, right? They're closing July 14th. And so as sad as that is, and I love Gill Dogs. I'll be the first to say I go down there. I'm actually sad. I've been in the city 10 years. I wish that my wife and I would have been down there more and participated more. We've just recently, as of the last few years, kind of started to frequent there. And, I try to go there for lunch, and I really try to kind of stay in the city to support our local businesses. But the problem is as some of these things get developed, like downtown Newport Richey, we go down there where there's cool stuff happening and we're spending our money there, and our businesses are suffering. So if we can kind of stay in there, redevelop that, and develop our own uniqueness. And I apologize, Chopper, but we can pull some of those Newport Richey people over to our city, and we can and share in that stuff, right? So there's real benefit to redevelopment, and we need to take everything into consideration, find that middle ground, and do the right thing. Anyone else want to speak on?
My name's Bill Barber, 5418 Tropical Woods Court. We're just starting to break ground to build out there, and that's at the end of Old Post Road in the little gated community. And the reason we bought there this year and plan to build is because of Guild Dogs and everything down at the end of the other end of Old Post Road. If that goes away, it's kind of like, why am I coming here and spending $1 million? What else does Newport Richey or Port Richey have to offer? I mean, that was it. That drew me here. So the next thing is Newport Richey, and I lived down here in the 70s. Then I joined the Army, and now I'm coming back after retirement and seeing the great things that have happened in Port Richey, especially there along the river, and to see that possibly go away or turn into high-rise apartment buildings. You're not attracting new investors, which is the homeowners and people buying land and redeveloping homes and raising your tax base. So I like what you're saying, Mayor, but it's also a thought process. You got to remember, it's not just bringing in the businesses to bring in a tax base. It's bringing in residents that will enjoy the idea of being here, and why are they coming here? To build that tax base also and bring in new businesses. So that's really all I had, but I like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, it's just to add to your comments. The good part about, and again, there's no plan or vision that doesn't include restaurants, retail, public access. That will always be there. I stand firm on making sure that we have that stuff down there, because that's our place to play. And the vision that was presented, obviously, is not only can you come here and play, you can work here and you can live here, right? And so the big benefit to having the residential aspect of it is you have an economic engine that makes businesses want to open, right? Because who wants to buy, if you think about investing in our waterfront now, Guild Dogs just shut the doors. What was the problem with that? Do I want to put a restaurant in there? Maybe not. Maybe I'd rather find a way to make my money like an office building and rent it out to legal firms and stuff like that. So, which you can do that right now, 72-foot office building. Perfectly fine to do that in our current code. So, my vision, as well as the vision I've heard, as well as I think the community's vision is to have that place to go. So we walk down there, we have full access to everything, shops, retail, and all that. And what's nice about the other part of the project is if we allow density, we can build that tax base. We can give an economic engine to those businesses so the businesses want to open. We want to have a restaurant here because we know we're going to have the infrastructure to support that. And we're going to have people turn over in our restaurant and eat. And we're going to bring people here from the outside. So that's a crucial component of that redevelopment. You've got to have that or there's nothing viable down there. So definitely want to keep that vibe. And I think we can improve it tenfold. Welcome, Rob.
How you doing, Mr. Mayor? Rob Kenworthy, 5800 Queener Avenue. I had so many things. I forgot my book. Now, we cannot negotiate. Why? There's something we can't do. If we're trying to talk about a vision and we can't even negotiate it, what's stopping that? Do they want the codes changed ahead of time in order to do their 100-foot?
Yeah, so if you look at our current code from an investor perspective and you want to do a project, the current investors that are looking at it with a density of 15 per gross acre and a height of 72 foot.
Right.
And probably more important is the density
Sure.
than the height.
Mhm.
The height comes into play where the higher you can go, the more amenities on the ground. So there's a benefit to that.
Negotiated at this point?
At this point, there is no negotiation past 72 foot.
Can it be negotiated now without having something within code? I mean, they're looking to change the code from 72 foot to 110 feet or something, correct?
Well, they're asking for increased density and increased height, and we don't have the ability to do that outside of the process we're going through.
Okay, but you cannot negotiate with the developer at this point because of that, because it's not in place.
That's correct. We don't have the tools.
Okay, so you have to put your shoes on before you can walk.
Mhm.
Okay, so, I mean, what's going on now is pretty moot point. If we're trying to do something, they want the ability to do it ahead of time.
Well, no, what they want to see is that the city is entertaining making those changes, and that if we put in place, let's say we look at our plan,
Right.
And we say we're going to, in our comprehensive land use plan, we're going to allow a max density in a city of 60,
Mhm.
and our max height is going to be 100. Then that in and of itself doesn't make anything able to use that. It's just we have that account of density and height in there, and then as we look at our zoning and we negotiate with developers, then we can say, okay, well, we're willing to give you some of this availability that we have out there as long as we get these things, and then we can approve that.
So it is negotiable then. I mean, it doesn't have to be changed ahead of time. You can negotiate.
Correct.
Okay.
And we can craft things
right
certain ways. And let me bring one more point
Sure.
to you to help with that. So if you think of our waterfront overlay district now, Catches doesn't use any density. Okay, it's just a restaurant.
Right.
It's Gill Dogs that use any density. And so when we talk about a density of 15 per gross acre down there, Catch is not using that. So if you take their properties, you could transfer possibly that density to another project. So one parcel could be more dense,
Okay.
because the district, if you will,
Correct.
not being so. There's ways we can craft that, but again, we don't have that available in our toolbox right now.
So the developer has not been back to the council or anybody. See, that's where I think the problem is. A lot of people that were here the first time I was here, all they saw was that condo that they put up on the screen and left it there, and they should have never done that, because that's all people saw.
You're right.
They just saw that big condo on the water, and that's, oh no. Maybe I listened with different ears, but what I heard is they wanted, my thought was, they want to buy as much property down there as available, okay? They want to get Gill Dogs first, which goes to Senile Cove, okay? That's the whole strip. And for the people that say you don't need the population, Gill Dogs is going out he wants to retire, he has other things going on. But Senile Cove, they're closing on Mondays and Tuesdays. Why? They don't have the business. Whiskey Joe's? Go Whiskey Joe's. Go during the week. Where's everybody? Yeah, there's seasonal stuff, but there's not enough population there. So here's my thought, what I got from them was I thought they were talking about the condos. They want to do the 110 feet, whatever. Grand, across from the gas station. To me, that's perfect. Perfect spot. 110. Put the rooftop restaurant there too if you want. You'll see the water. Parking garage, they told you about parking garage. And plus for people that go there, not just the people that live there. That's kind of what I heard. Then I heard tiered. Now, tiered to me sounded like they would go, tiered was starting at Senile Cove. That's all going to be gone. Do like 2 or 3 stories, restaurant, shops, and then the next level, 5 or 6 stories, and then keep going, tiering up until the maximum was 72 foot. That's the way I understood it. Or maybe that's just the way I heard it. Or maybe that's my vision. People go to Gill Dogs thinking they're on the water. I'll tell you what, I brought a dozen people from Gill Dogs, from New York, from Virginia, from Tennessee. They don't even know they're on it's a canal. That's not really waterfront. Senile Cove is waterfront. That area is waterfront. The casino is waterfront. So to have that saying it's waterfront, no. So that tiered thing is what I thought they were going to do. That was my thought. And if they did the river walk all the way down, along the canal, and around Senile Cove, where they went after that, I don't know. But the other part was Gill Dog. You cannot lose Gill Dog. I don't care where you put it. It doesn't have to be on the canal because no one knows it's on the waterfront. But when you pull into the parking lot, I tell you, I brought like a dozen people. They said, wow, this is what I come to Florida for. This is Florida. That's Florida. That's what they want to see. They get the feel. Now they're in Florida. They come driving down 19, it's like, well, shit. They pull apart into Guild Dogs and, yeah, this is Florida. Yeah, this is great. They can put that anywhere. That doesn't have to be right where it's at now. I know Guild Dogs is done. I'm going there. I'm trying to do bingo tonight. You're holding me up here. So, yeah, we win too. So anyway, so that was that part. And then if it becomes favorable for them to do that, they want to purchase the other two properties, or the casino property. Now the casino property, that's 19. Who care? I don't care about 19. Put another 2 condos. That's big enough. They can put double condos there. More parking, another rooftop restaurant. Who cares? You're driving on 19, you're seeing buildings. You're not seeing anything. You're not seeing no water. You don't see any water unless you go to Senile Cove, or Hooters, or Catches, or Whiskey Joe's. You don't see water driving in there. Not just that, but how? You would think they're going to spend millions and millions. It's going to probably for like $5 million just to buy the Guild Dogs property. You think they're not going to improve the roads, the sewer, and the water? They're going to build all that and just say, you worry about it. No. We got the negotiation properties, possibility. We work with that. I don't want my taxes to go up to spend the money on that. And I know maybe that's what's been happening here, is kind of been holding off on doing that. Let the developer take care of that. You think he's not going to want to build all these nice buildings, have the shops and all stuff, and have crappy roads, which I don't think they're that bad, but no roads, no lane, no sidewalk, and infrastructure? No, they're not just going to say walk away from that. They're going to want to fix that too. These are just my thoughts. I mean, this social media, Facebook is aggravating. These people, I don't know what they're not listening to. They just come up with their own thing. Yeah, everyone's here is on the take. They all got their own, someone's got, it's ridiculous. I don't know what, they're watching too much TV. I don't watch TV, so I just live life. I don't know what people, I live on the other side of the development. They've been building on my street. When I bought my house, I was the only house on that one street. They built 6 brand new houses, and they're building that development behind me. I just moved there 4 years ago. Construction's been happening 2 months after I moved in. So I'm not one of these NIMBYs, not in my backyard people, but that would be great. There's so much opportunity there. If they do it right, and I know everybody wants to do it right here. No one's just falling over and saying, yeah, do what you want to do. No, not everybody's got the same level of thought and same ideas. Everyone's trying to work together for the best of everybody. But the people keep saying, no. Listen, these restaurants are dying. Why? Because there's not enough population here. Yes, it comes seasonal. But if they did the condos, did it right, did the Riverwalk, do the tier thing the way I understood it to be, it would be great. These are my thoughts. I just wanted to get on record and have people that are reading it, seeing it, hearing it, whatever, to actually hear instead of just that little bit on Facebook, because that's toxic. I'm telling you, it's terrible. I can go play some bingo. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all very much.
Good luck.
Hope you win, Rob. It just add on to Rob's points. Actually, I forgot what I was going to say, but he's right. There's we need density down there to be able to support that stuff. And the tier, that's what I was going to mention. So there's different ways, and one of the things that we did here in the survey is that there's less of a tolerance for height on the waterfront than there is on the 19 corridor. And so as we look at that and we negotiate with the developer, we can, we allow a little higher on the 19 corridor to keep the building sizes down on the waterfront, and we can kind of tier that. So again, there's no hard set plans. It was really just a vision on what could be down there. Not that that was their, that's what they're going to build, but just to kind of get the community talking about the potential for a project down there that is of a magnitude is, transformational for the city. But we can work through all those different details and try to get something that everybody enjoys. Welcome.
Hi, Michelle O'Connor, 8207 Old Post Road. One thing I haven't heard addressed, I'm Guild Dog's almost neighbor. I live right by the waterfront park on the water. My biggest concern, and I'm going by articles, unfortunately this is the first time I've been able to come to one of these, and who knows, it could be all lies, I don't know. So I'm here to ask you guys. Like we discussed, the affordable housing I'm 100% against. 100% against. The condos aren't going to be as much as our homes, so how do we maintain our property value as residents close by?
Yeah, so there was the mention of affordable housing, and one thing that I wanted to say about affordable housing, that's not low income housing.
I get it, but it's still not as much as all our waterfront homes.
And one of the things
Heck of a lot.
I believe that when we talking about Live Local Act about creating affordable housing, it's a big obviously drive. They want people to be able to have a place to live close to where they work, and that's the reason that the legislature put that in. So affordable housing, from a certain aspect, I want to say, and don't quote me, but I think what they consider affordable is a studio apartment at $2,000 a month is considered affordable. So affordable is not really affordable.
Rentals?
Huh?
Purchasing it.
So what's the question?
Be rentals? Or are they purchasing it?
For
the affordable housing.
Well, it's I don't think it makes a difference. It's just when we talk about affordable housing, you can buy, you can rent, but it's whatever makes it affordable is what it's not necessarily one or the other.
I really wish I lived in a place that worried about how I was going to get to work. Like, to build something special when it's going to lower our property value. I don't know how set the developer is on that, but we're all starting to talk about it. I know with my neighbors, it's starting to spread, and that's not going to sit well with the people that live close. 'Cause it is going to lower. I mean, even if you sell them for $300,000, or if they're rentals, it's still not comparable to like that. He's building $1 million house. Not that we're all snotty and everything. My house isn't near that much. I'm just saying there's a huge concern with that. And if we go to sell it, okay, this just brought down all of our property value. So that's one thing. It would be nice if the developer, maybe down the road you will. My next suggestion was the vision you sent out with the survey. It was a vision. It wasn't exactly what they wanted. Or was it?
That survey was not specific to the developer, or a specific what is the community's vision for that area? What kind of development would you like to see? What kind of height would you prefer? It wasn't specific to any development. It was, as we look at changing our comprehensive land use plan, we wanted to get the opinion of the residents on what kind of stuff they'd like to see, where they're at on it. And so there was no vision in there of what's going to happen. It was just a bunch of different things to opine on, if you will.
So I kind of agree. Somebody else had mentioned it. Where the trailer park was, if they drop the affordable housing, which is going to affect all the residents' property values.
Let me address that if I could.
Condos there too.
If I could, on the affordable housing, and I've got Ryan here, he can maybe talk to that. There was, I believe the reference to affordable housing was within the development, there would be a section of affordable housing, maybe some apartments or something that, so if a worker was working at the restaurants and shops down to the development, we would have a component of affordable housing. It wouldn't just have, $500,000 condos to buy.
That's just not computing in my brain. The key is to make money for the developers and bring in more in the city. So now you're going to put affordable housing in, which I'm saying is going to drop my property value. So I don't understand why we need that. Is whoever he is, I don't know.
Well, after you get done, I'll see if he wants to talk to that.
So like now they're giving up this whole piece of property where they could put in ones that you could buy. Not that I'm really thrilled about getting condos there, but I honestly am resigned to the fact it's going to happen, whether we want it to or not. Gildize is gone. So I had another question.
Sure.
I also read in there, they said, okay, in these condos, all the public's going to have access to their amenities. Is that correct? What do they mean by that? They mean a waterfront around it? What?
So again, I let Ryan talk to that a little bit too. My understanding is when they create these mixed-use buildings, commercial on the bottom, multifamily above that or whatever, boardwalk, it's not like it's not like a resort where only people who stay at the resort can use the walk. It's a public thing. And we would work with, obviously, this developer to help create those public amenities that they're always open. You walk around.
Say public amenities, what do you mean? Tennis courts? What?
Boardwalk, for example.
So it's just the
public. You don't have to live in a condo to walk along the boardwalk.
That's what I thought. Okay.
No, it's
everybody's probably going to disagree with me, but I talked to you about it before. I'm going to use Channelside. So I wasn't aware people said move the buildings back for a boardwalk, because to me, part of the salt life, part of living there, part of the draw of that area is the open air restaurants. You can go, you can eat, you can have a drink, you see the water. Where if you give me a boardwalk hey, yeah, it's nice for me to take a 5-minute walk, take a few pictures, but then what? So that's just my take on it. Just take it into consideration, because I looked at Hyde Park, and I looked at, what was
Midtown Tampa.
Midtown Tampa. And what it looked like to me is we're losing all that charm, we're losing all the salt life, and it looked like just big square shopping center with some fake grass in the middle.
Yeah, no, I did mention that was very modern.
I get it's modern, but you're losing it, for a boardwalk that, honestly, what do you use the boardwalk for? To take a walk.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take you to walk? I know it takes me 4 minutes to Gildogs. It takes me 10 minutes to get from my house all the way down. I walk it, so I know it. 10 minutes all the way down to Rum River. So, okay, I don't know. I just kind of can't believe that you're going to pull everything back to enclose it in that area. And maybe you could consider do that, and is there space to put some more open air restaurants where you can see the water?
I would imagine.
Smaller boardwalk? How about by the condos?
Yeah, well, I would imagine.
By the condos that we don't want.
Again, I would imagine when you start talking about a boardwalk along the water, it would just be once you get on the boardwalk, you have to walk all the way through it. You don't stop anywhere. There would probably be little cafes or whatever along there.
That's why I asked, because you said everybody wanted you to pull back all the restaurants. So that's what I'm picturing, this box in the center, like Hyde Park. It's like a box with the center and all that. It's all glass. There's nothing like open.
So those examples are mixed use with commercial retail on the bottom, residential on top. Again, ignore the architecture. I'm not a big fan of the modern look down at Midtown Tampa either, but it gives you a feel of the kind of the space as you walk around through there, and you look up, you see some residential. But it gives you the feel of what we could create down there. Again, nothing set in stone. There's no water down there, obviously, at Midtown Tampa.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, along our waterfront.
Actually, I was thinking of Hyde Park when I compared.
Yeah, and that's a little bit older. It's less residential down there because it's older buildings or whatever. But it has a much more homey feel than Midtown Tampa because it's, like I said, more modern. But what you glean from that is if I go down to a development and I walk through an area of multifamily, you don't necessarily feel like you're in a multifamily development there. You actually look at like you're in a downtown, but you got places to go, eat, drink, and all, buy beds and whatever they had else down there. But people are living above you, right? That's just kind of what you need to glean from that is that it's possible to have both residential and mixed use commercial at eye level. And again,
I'd rather see instead of the affordable housing. Like, I'm so against affordable housing.
And I
don't even see why. I sound selfish, but nobody else gets a special building to work close by their work. So don't lower our property values. That's
so when you talk about affordable housing, I don't think the section off a certain building of affordable housing.
You said it was going where the trailer.
I don't know I don't have any plans, but
that brings me to my next thing. Maybe this will calm people down. I know it'll do me. Maybe it's way too advanced. Early to do this. So that survey I thought was great. I thought it was wonderful that you guys even sent it out to us, but it was so like cut and dry general, very abstract. So is it possible, once they have a more concrete idea and they know whether the zoning is going to change or what, hey, here's what we want to do, can we get a better plan? And you guys could negotiate that, but send out the survey again and ask them those questions. Do we want affordable housing? Do we want a boardwalk? Do we want fake grass? It sounds silly, but we're all uptight because we're losing that waterfront charm, that salt life, all that. And if there's I don't know if you're going to be able to park boats there to get off. All kinds. Do you want the parking like all the other restaurants do? There's so many other little nuances that are making us hyper, because we don't know, and there's so many rumors, so many different articles. So I would just say that, try to get a better picture.
Well, as you talk in general terms of density and height and all those things, right? Once those are available to be dispersed, the process is the developer would put hardcore plans together that they would propose, and that would go before the planning and zoning first.
And some of the words are ambiguous. You say the public's going to be able to use the amenities for the condos. When actuality, it just sounds like you just told me, oh, you're going to have a boardwalk in front of it, you know?
Well, no,
The shops, yeah, you can go shopping there. Well, that's a given. If you're going to put in a commercial, you know, I can't see anybody that has a business in there wanting it closed off. So I wouldn't say amenities, because that's misleading. A boardwalk in front of it that is not private property would be great. You know, amenities to me is you're putting a pool, and it's going to be a city pool, which I know you're not going to do that. I don't even care if you do that.
So
yeah, more specifics, I guess, in the next survey.
yeah, so what amenities do we have down there now? Would you say?
We don't want the condos, period.
Well, no, down there right now, waterfront park. What?
The waterfront restaurants is what the draw is. Gildog's concerts and all the huge trees and stuff like that. I get you need to make money. I'm not saying, like I said, I've already withdrawn the fact that I know these condos are going to go in regardless of the public opinion, well, of the residents. So now I'm just trying to think of ways for us to be more informed, and give us a say in it. Don't make it be just you guys, okay?
Well, if you,
Because honestly, I'm going to be really blunt. I know y'all don't make hardly any money on this. You don't care if you get reelected in 2 years or whatever it is. You're trying to make the best decision. What I'm saying is be a good person and take our opinions into consideration. That's all.
100%. And we had to serve. That's why we paid $15,000 of taxpayer money to put that out there so we could get it.
Bridge of the canals. I'm kidding. That's another day.
Ryan, you want to make a couple comments or no?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Go ahead, Cindy. Cindy's
Wait, let me see if let's let me address that. Then I get you next, Cindy.
Yeah, if you would like me to. Ryan Burke, 4529 Harbor Point Drive.
Yeah, if you just let me address the affordable housing concern and
I think the term, there are no plans to do any type of government subsidized housing. Our plan was to have different types of units that could accommodate different people at different stages of their life with different economic situations. And so whether that's 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, that there'd be some variety of that to accommodate more people than what we see today in the city. The whole reason why I even was crazy enough to do this was because we wanted a place that would be fun for the public here and the community to go to and our daughter to go to, and that would be sustainable and supported by the city's residents. And so our entire reason for getting involved in this was to try to do something that we would then be able to enjoy, not necessarily just the people living there would be able to enjoy. And so that's kind of been the foundation behind all of it.
Cindy?
Cynthia Malin, 5446 Blue Point Drive. One of the things that I think that we need to think about, and I think this is the reason why you're having such a diverse conversation in this, is that we paid $15,000 to get a survey, to get input. And from your last meeting, it was kind of implied that it will be, our voices will be ignored. Now, the thing of it is that you said yourself that Villa Bay brings in quite a bit of money. 2 to 3, they said 3 stories? Absolutely. The first story of that building, whatever they build down there, has to be parking because of its flood. Another thing they need to look at is whether they have permeable asphalt. You know, putting in a lot more asphalt down there, you're going to have a lot more residential flooding along Old Post, Miles, Blue Point, Quest, all those places. Another thing is you're talking about wanting to build or drill a deeper well. The reason why we need to drill a deeper well is to support more citizens. Now, I know right now our water quality is not the best. We do need to improve that. We also understand that we're getting a grant for a new fire station, but that doesn't mean that we also have to get a new fire truck. And if we're going to properly keep those people safe, at 5, 6, 7 stories, they're going to have a ladder. And we all know that anytime you go over 40 feet on a ladder truck, it's $10,000 a foot. That's at the truck starting at about 1.5 mil. So we know these things. I think you need, some of the gems that you need to take from your own survey is that people were more acceptable of having apartments or condos across 19, more towards 19, not on the waterfront. You can still pull revenue by having shorter, smaller buildings along the waterfront, and that would be your parking, your businesses, restaurants, coffee shops, ice cream shops, whatever you're having. They can still have another set of apartments up above that and still keep within that 72 feet easily. Those would be your premium apartments. Keep your other apartments farther away from the water. I think that's what a lot of people you're hearing from, and that's what I think a lot of people are having problems with, is you asked for an opinion, we gave an opinion, and it was pretty much discounted. So that's some of the problems that I think we're seeing. There's going to be change, always going to be change. And Gill Dogs is leaving, that's a change. It's going to change. There's going to be something else coming in. They're going to put in a boardwalk. Well, if you put a boardwalk in, even if they buy the casino property and come on around, what's that going to be, 200 feet, 300 feet? That's not a lot of boardwalk. It will be nice. It's nice to be able to walk down and by the water, but it's not a place where you're going to go and sit for a couple of hours or have a drink or something else. That's why I suggest there are ways to negotiate. We're not locked in not negotiating, but the thing is when they came and had the meeting, they asked for the maximum. They asked for 110 feet. They asked for 60 units per acre density. And so we need to not see that maximum. We need to get down to realistic figures. And that's what I think the citizens want to see. Thank you.
Yep, and I want to reiterate again that there was never any intent to ignore those results. And I will say that there was an article released by the Suncoast News that alluded, as a matter of fact, they stated that the mayor suggested the council ignore those results. I never did that, never said that. As a matter of fact, I reached out to the editor of Suncoast News on that article, and I wanted to set up a meeting with him because I had concerns of the misrepresentation of content in that article. I did not give any details. I didn't give any specific things in the article. I just said I had concerns about that. If you notice, that went down today, and to my surprise, when it came back up, now the article is reflective of what I said. And so I would encourage every resident, don't rely on a news article. Go out June 11th. I believe it starts about 1:32, somewhere into the meeting is my comments, and you listen to my comments as I said them. And I never said that we should ignore those. We're not ignoring it. Hold on if I could, because if I'm accused of ignoring things, I want to make it perfectly clear that I'm not. As you said, there seems to be, from that survey, there's less tolerance for height in the waterfront than there is on corridor 19. That's good information. And we can take that into our decision-making process, that we don't allow maybe something past 72 foot on the waterfront, but maybe we go a little higher on the 19. The amenities people want. I also pointed out in that meeting that there was some conflicting information in the survey results, right? I want all this public space, but I want short, fat buildings that doesn't give me access to the water or public space. So, again, that's the conflicting. Again, great information. We take that in consideration. Again, not a vote. It's information for us to consider as we make decisions. And there's a lot of good information in that survey. Again, if I would have ignored it, I could not have talked about the results, because when I got them in my packet, I read through 700 some comments or whatever, read them all. And, I stated that. No condos, no condos, no condos, no condos. Again, you can have condos now. So I pointed that out. We want public space. We want all these things. And so those survey results have been, we're talking about them now. This is a town hall forum, and this is what we're discussing, all these different things. There is no ignoring of those results. And I also want to say that I brought up the point that of the survey results, 766, 70% were residents, allegedly, because there was no vetting that, I could have my mom go in and say Green Street. And
It's
she would
still
be considered.
500 residents.
So 536 allegedly live in the city, right? We have 3,500 residents in the city. So 3,000 did not engage in that. I did not take the survey. My wife did not take the survey. A couple people I've talked to that are out, living their life, they're aware of this. They didn't take the survey either. So, I don't know what those other 3,000 people think. I wish that we would have got that survey back and 3,500 residents would have taken it, and then we would have had a complete picture. So when I say that, it's not that I'm ignoring the 500. I hear the 500 loud and clear. Of that 500, I think there was, on most of the height questions, 60 to 70% completely inappropriate. There was the other, so if you take 60 or 70% of that 500, let's just say 400 were against it. There was 100 even in the 500 that were tolerant, right? Again, it's just a data point. And I am not ignoring it. I am not ignoring it. I am not ignoring it.
Yes, you're saying that, and I sit in every city council meeting, as many as I can, and you've seen me here. I keep my voice out here. So that's one of the things is you did give the impression when you gave that, and then you started giving polls. What if Moses polled? What if, Jesus polled? Those things were contradictory in saying that I'm going to ignore that. And I think one of the things, 500 results from the city of Port Richey is fantastic. You guys are normally voted in with 200 to 300 votes.
Yeah, 433, I think, voted last election.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. 500 voices is a very good poll of this city. So, and I think that the city has not been represented, the citizens have not been represented very well here in the past. We're trying to get better representation. That's what we do with the CAC and everything else. But I'm just saying, that's what I understand, that's what I hear from a lot of people is, well, we can't negotiate until we change the codes. You can. They can give something that is more concrete than a vision, and we can also not ask for the maximum and get some realistic numbers. And then I think people would be a little bit more acceptable to this.
And as always, I appreciate you all being here. I want to fill this room. There's nothing I love more than to hear the public comment, and I take that into all decisions. But I want to make sure that everybody in the public understands. If I represent two people, okay, and the issue comes up of whether I put speed bumps on Grand, and I have one person that wants speed bumps on Grand, and I have another person that is adamantly against speed bumps on Grand, what decision do I make? Right?
Well, apparently you gave speed bumps to on Grand. That's what you did.
Right. Well, let's say that I took a poll. Let's say I take a poll.
Bad example. I'm sorry, but that was a bad example.
Talk about that next if you want. But if we take a poll and I get one person that responds back to the poll, the two people that says I don't want speed bumps on Grand, and I don't hear from the other person, which there was people that didn't respond to that small survey we sent out to the residents on Grand, what do they think? Are they for it? Are they against it? I don't know. But if I know I have one person that doesn't want it and one person that does, at the end of the day, I got to make a decision. The council, it's not me. Let me rephrase that. We need to make a decision. Okay. And the reality of it is, as your mayor, I don't bring motions. I don't second motions unless there's just three of us sitting up here. Then I have the ability to second motions. I only get to have a discussion and vote. So I can't do anything in and of myself. I have to rely on my colleagues to bring something forward to the point where we get a motion, a second, and then we put it to vote. But we have good discussions up here, and very, very lengthy ones. I think we go above and beyond to really discuss things even past the point we probably need to, just for the sake of facilitating that and to listen to public comment.
I'm just making the comment, so.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, is there anybody online? Okay.
Sorry.
Name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Maureen Goodson, and my husband and I just bought our house a couple months ago on 7311 San Carlos Drive. Super excited to be here. We actually love Port Richey. We are native Floridians. My husband's actually the seventh generation Floridian. So we are in no way like, let's get rid of Florida. One of the reasons we moved here from Clearwater is for the waterfront view. I've spent a lot of time in Pasco, Hillsborough, Pinellas. I'm from this area. My husband is from Lakeland. And I think revitalization really needs to be talked about. Somebody brought up we don't want this to be Clearwater, and I agree.
And I would agree.
Clearwater is terrifying. I don't hear people talk about this. We watched a tank roll down our street in Clearwater. It's terrifying. We hear automatic weapons all night. We don't want this to be Clearwater. But since I've moved here 2 months ago, I now hear gunfire outside of my house. I do not go to the waterfront, and that's the reason I moved here. Why? Because I keep being accosted by clearly drug addicts asking me for money. That's unsafe. I feel unsafe. And that's a huge concern, especially as, I think we may have a little bit of a different perspective being two homeowners under the age of 30. We have a median age of what I believe it's about 49, about 50, and we have to think about where the state is going, where the buying power is going. Where are we trying to get people? We as young people need these affordable rental options to be in your community. And I believe we have a right to be down by the water.
It's for workers.
No, it's not for workers. It's for people who can afford for all this kinds of stuff. And let's be honest, young people cannot buy homes. It's a huge problem. So if we can't rent here and we can't buy homes here, then why are we going to come here? Right? I'm tired of Port Richey being called a bedroom community. And I'm tired of having to go to Hyde Park. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having to drive 40 minutes. This is our community, and I think that we need to look towards the future. I love the Salt Life attitude, but let's be honest, we're in a heat dome. Nobody's really going outside. We're dying of heat stroke. We have huge issues. I'd like to see maybe some sustainability being talked about. We have wonderful resources here. We have a river. How about we use that water energy to provide sustainable energy for our new community, have some real green spaces, have something really that we can cherish and value. And then Port Richey can be someplace. I see Lakeland, Florida on Instagram. I see all these little towns on Instagram, but where is our city? And maybe the people don't like it, but social media is here to stay. And the young people are here to stay. And we now have money and we now have buying power. And if you want to make money, you have to attract the young people. And I really appreciate the opportunity to say all of this. But I worry about the opioid epidemic in Port Richey. I know that you guys are working on some things, and I really support that. But I maybe have a bit of a unique perspective. I know somebody spoke is from New York. My family comes from New Jersey. We are an immigrant family, and we moved to Trenton we came through Ellis Island in 1906. My family watched our community in Trenton, New Jersey decline because of this exact thing. No one wanted to revitalize our community. So now drive-by shootings are a regular thing. Now no one will go to the city. Now all of the people who from my community had to leave, we were forced to leave because of crime and gang violence. And that is what could be coming for Port Richey, and is, I promise you, already here. And we need to worry about that more than are we going to have condos, because that's what's going to kill the city. The waterfront is already dead. And maybe say it's dying. No. People do not go down there. I talk to many people who do not feel safe. Florida has a human trafficking problem, and it feels like I'm going to be taken from there. I study this in school. I know this. Florida has a problem, and we need to address it, especially being Port Richey, being our beautiful waterfront community. I'm proud to be a homeowner here, but it makes me very nervous because just the other day, somebody put a letter on my door calling for overthrowing the government.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that's concerning. In Newport Richie, a pipe bomb was found. That's concerning. I'm concerned for our safety of our community, and there is no family friendly. I would not take my small daughter there, absolutely not. It's not safe for our community members, and I am surprised no one's brought that up. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Great points. Thank you very much. Who else?
Rose, 10221 Hilltop Drive, Newport Richie. Still have property over here in Port Richey. Hearing everything from the community, and it's all waterfront, and we know how precious that is. Some of the things that we can do, and I've seen done, we're trying to work through everything, keep it on the table. You're going to hear different things come up with different approaches you take. There's the CBRA, Coastal Barrier Resource Act, with available funding, and you're going to hear the funding people say no. Here is what you can tell them: there is money available. You just have to know how to use the system. Some people just don't want to go that far. Anyway, we're looking at, I brought to you the Brasher Park expansion. That would be wonderful, just what you hear these people asking for. That would give people a beautiful park to go to and to really enjoy. Gill Dogs, we all hear that Gill Dogs is leaving. Well, it hasn't been sold. It's just not good. He's going to go out of business for a while. But right there, we have a beautiful bayou. So why not refine our existing bayous? Why not refine our waterfront? We have the Audubon Society has that beautiful park sitting right off the entrance there. Get with the Audubon Society. See what we can do to encourage them to make that even more beautiful than it already is. Because that could be for people that are boaters. You're coming in, you know it's over there, you see the green. Could you imagine what it would be like if you saw a white sandy beach in front of that green for all the turtles and the seabirds to nest at? It's all doable. And then this is all encouraging everything, keeping our people happy here. It's also going to revitalize your economic engines you have in place. Doing what we can to enhance what we have, make it all we can. This is outside the box a little bit, but we know that people on the waterways like to come here. Bigger boats really can't come in because of certain restrictions. But if we do the waterways properly, think about a close-in offshore anchorage for all the mega yachts that park and bring in their little toy boats, bring them into all the Gill Dogs and different places we have. Enjoy what we have, go back out to their big boats, stay anchored overnight, charge them $25 a night to anchor up right out there. Make it a safe and happy place. We can do this. And there is more funding available. Like I say, I brought it to you. The CBRA is one thing, and the state has the beaches and inlets. That's always $15 to $18 million of dollars, and that's direct funding. There's always grant money available. I hear you using the grant money that you get. Direct funding is a little different. Direct funding is going to be there. It's not going to be, well, we hope we get the grant. If we get a grant, we're lucky. This money is out there. You just have to get your people to approach the state properly, and we can get it. We have a beautiful waterways. Why not take advantage of it?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Alan. And we're actually definitely committed to that. As you well know, we just created the 2125 committee, I think it's called, to deal with coastal restoration resiliency, so we can look at all those things, go after that funding, and so hopefully we can really make a difference going forward. So thanks.
Got my number.
Appreciate it. I had a couple comments on some of the things that people have brought up. When we talk about a development coming in, and I don't know if the public knows this or not, but they just don't get the keys and just build whatever they want, right? There's in the planning process and all that, there is impact fees that are assessed that are very substantial. And so when they do build development, those impact fees help cover the costs of the roads, water, different things, the infrastructure we would have to do. And again, they're very substantial, especially on a several $1 million project. You're going to have quite a bit of impact fees in there that would help defray the cost of some of that stuff. So don't ever think that, I know it's, in the past, I think you've seen some of that, but Florida Building Code is very strict. And you just can't come in and wreak havoc on an existing community. You have to put all those things in place. You have to have those plans, traffic studies, drainage plans. You have to go through all that to show that whatever you're going to put there is going to be viable, sustainable, and it's not going to be an impact to the community. And if there is an impact to the community, you have to pay to take that impact away. So, or at least defray the cost of that for sure. So, anybody else on that topic? Say it again.
I'd just like to say thank you for having open meetings like this. It's unusual here that they have a lot of town hall meetings, and I think we have 2 of them in the last couple of months now.
Every quarter we have it, every 3 months.
So I appreciate you guys doing that and, having us be able to come up here and talk. So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy to do it. I need to call you back, Dave.
How's it going?
Good.
Mr. Hoover, Board, I just wanted to, again, offer myself as a resource. My name is David Cruz, 6611 Carnation Way, but I am the Disaster Preparedness Coordinator for the Diocese of St. Petersburg, which covers Pasco County. And prior to moving here to Florida in 2009, I was a Deputy Director of Emergency Management in New Hampshire. And I also held an elected position as a planning person up there in New Hampshire. But the thing that I want to offer as a resource to the board and to the people here in Port Richey is to make sure that the people get fair representation when we do get hit with a storm. Because we know that there's probably going to be another storm this year, at least one out of the 10 or 15 that they say are going to come here to Florida. And I want to make sure that the people here are fairly represented because I'm on the board in Pinellas for their VOAD, which is the volunteer organizations that aid in disaster. And I'm trying to develop a VOAD here. So anyone that's here in this room that's part of a volunteer group that would like to become part of a volunteer organization to aid in disaster, I'd like that to open that to you. And please contact me. I have cards that I can give to you. So in Pinellas, of course, they had the largest number in the state for people that applied for FEMA help for their flooding during Idalia. I don't believe that they were the largest area that was affected. I think Pasco was just as affected, and these 2 towns of Port Richey and New Port Richey were just as affected as a lot of areas were in Pinellas County. So there's a new business that opened up here called Endeavors, and I hope everyone is familiar with that because people can go there and apply for assistance if they were affected by the storm and hopefully get that help. And it makes better connection for FEMA and everybody else, and anything I could offer as far as planning, I'd be more than happy to do that. Even though I don't live in the city of New Port Richey, I just would like the footprint of the city move 2 blocks, so I am.
Thanks, David. I appreciate your service. Anyone else like to speak? Sure. Name and address.
Jerry Griffin, 7638 Deidre Circle. So when I was a kid, we used to hunt on a little island called Rabbit Island at the end of Hillsborough River on the mouth of Tampa Bay. And nobody wanted to bother that land. They wanted to leave it as it was. It is now called Harbor Island. Okay, another situation, my great-grandfather owned John's Pass, and you see what it is today. No money went to me, by the way, so unfortunately, but, and then my brother owned land on Hillsborough Avenue by the Oldsmar Flea Market. That's massive now. So the point being, if you don't increase density, allow these people a lot of leeway, because by increasing the density, we're going to get a lot more revenue in this city. People are attracted to money, so other businesses are going to want to come and open up there, not to mention the jobs you're going to create for people and the homes you're going to create for people, and the people that are going to live there are going to open businesses. And yes, it's going to grow, and it's going to grow big, and don't be afraid to grow. It's not going to hurt your property values, which is definitely not going to hurt your property values, because it's obvious by things I just mentioned. That was the reason for it, mentioning them. But people have to, accept the fact that this is the last holdout. Port Richey is the last holdout for waterfront. It's going to build, and it's going to build big. You can sit on it for a while and lose a lot of revenue, waiting for a new developer to come. But I don't think anybody's going to come and offer what the relief to the city that this group is offering. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Jerry.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Hi, Don Hernandez, 8425 Flaxen Drive. I guess my number one question is, have we decided what is going to be in this waterfront as far as for the people of Port Richey, as far as acreage? Are we going to have 20 acres? Are we going to have 2 different parks? Are we going to have
Yes.
anybody?
Yeah, so right now, the city actually owns Nick's Park.
Right.
And at the corner of Old Post and what's the name of that street? Miles. Cody. There's about a third of an acre. Nick's Park is probably about the same, I guess. So that's all that the city actually owns. Everything else is private property.
So the question is so that could be being developed. I think I hear a lot of stuff about people want the green space. People want to be able to go down there. I have been to both of those parks. Okay. They're a nice city park. But when you get closer towards 19 and you get by the dog run area and off of there, it turns, why do I want to go there? I cannot see a vision of, people are saying, the condos, we don't want all this type of, housing and everything. We have areas that we could be developing for us right now if we do nothing with the developer. These are areas that we could be developing so that we do have, so people will say, well, yeah, no, we got a nice park here. Maybe we should go a little bit higher on the waterfront. Maybe when Catches decides to sell, we could put something in there. We can only work with the stuff that we have, that we can develop. I mean, the other stuff will come when a company sees a city putting in developing what we do have. Companies are going to be here. We know what we're sitting on. We know that developers are waiting for, if not this one, another one will be here. It's just the way, the riverfront property is.
So one thing I'll mention, you mentioned waterfront area down there. So I think you're talking a little bit broader than that. So we also have the big waterfront park area.
Right.
Now. So just so you know, so the waterfront park can't be developed. It's matter of fact, it's very strict on what you can even do in there. You can't have alcohol in there. You can't.
Right.
You got restrooms in there. That's about as much development as I think can actually be in there. It was given to the city with restrictions in place. It always remain a park. It's for nature and different things.
Absolutely.
And then Nick's Park, obviously not developed.
Promoting that, saying, yeah, we do have access to the water. I'm not sure there's a lot of people west of 19 know that. I don't think we have developed our park system that we can own if it's nothing more than just having somebody come through and clean it up and put a lifeguard at one of the stations. There are things that we can do immediately so that these folks are, they're going to tear this up and they're going to put this 200-foot boardwalk that will go nowhere, and with low-income housing. And this is what I've heard the last hour. And obviously, they're frightened. And my next point is, folks, if we don't take care of this, the county will. They're going to try it again. We're all here so that the county, and they're waiting. They're waiting for us to screw up. They're waiting for them to screw up. Our services go from, our police services where I live goes from 2.5 minutes to 35 minutes, and that's just for an ambulance. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to give Port Richey away to Pasco County. We've been there. We don't want that. I don't know how clear I can be making this be made. I've heard rumbles already that you know, from city employees. Obviously, they want to keep their jobs, but they probably would. They would just go, you know, the whole system would go part of that. Nobody wants that. And if the county commissioners think they're going to come in and take our waterfront, and yeah, that's what they want. They want our waterfront. The county wants to take over. And if anybody doesn't believe that, well, you know, your $1 million home will turn into 840, because if they can get 300 condos in there, they will. We need to be aware of that. But at the same time, we need, and these people are very frustrated, they need to see some sort of progress of something. Even if it's, I've noticed in the last month, finally somebody's come through and cut the grass. Come on, guys. I mean, you know, Gill Dogs, which I've only been to a couple of times, is finally closed. The guy wants to retire. Okay. Hopefully, you know, he gets, you know, $1 zillion for his place, you know, being in you know, landowner myself. But the fact of it is though that we have to push for development, or at the next time that we're voting for whether or not the county, because the county, what the county will do is they will be the ones that put in a new pump station for us, which we need, and we need as soon as possible. We need to take care of that infrastructure. We need to make sure that our police and firemen, I think they are doing a hell of a job, you know, for what they have to do, and the response times. Go up to Hudson and get hurt and see if you don't wait 35 minutes. Who in the hell wants that? Not me.
Yep.
What can I say?
Yep. No, good points, and I actually want to reiterate one that I haven't said in the past that I think is important to understand, is that we all want to keep Port Richey a city.
And that's why I voted for you, sir.
I appreciate that.
That's why I voted for you.
And so,
I'm sure the people before you wanted that.
yeah, the reality of all this is that if we don't make the right decisions, whether the people want it or not, we can lose the city, right? If we go broke and we can't, you know, we're, like I said, the bills have come due. If our water system goes defunct, we don't do something here, and we don't have the money to support this, we'll self-implode. And there ain't nothing any of us could do. Any voting is going to stop that. And then I believe, like he says, you know, the county's probably sitting there waiting to take us over. They're wanting us to fail. So what we need to do is have leadership in here that do the right things to prevent that and actually make this place even bigger and better than it has been in the past, so that we don't ever have to worry about that. It's very important. Great points.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Lisa Burke, welcome.
I don't want to be on a timer either. You're the only one that's going to be on a timer,
Yeah.
Lisa. That's
No timer.
in that case.
Give her 3 minutes and 2 seconds.
I'm going to give my address. Lisa Burke, 6333 Ridge Road. I'm under FL 119. The people here in this town are killing me over all of this stuff. It's just, the one thing you hear everybody complain about is for 20 years nothing happened. And now things are happening. Now maybe they're not all happening really fast, and maybe it's not exactly what everybody wants, because we haven't found out what everybody wants yet. I'm impressed that you're asking questions, you're asking the people what they want, you're asking people what they think, you're even asking people what they think about things that really, you can't say anything about private property. If somebody buys a private property, you are asking people what they think, but the bottom line is that's private property. So people are saying they want this and this and this and this private property. I think it's something that you're even asking, that you even put out that survey, that the city put out the survey, that you're asking questions because you do want to know what people want. And not just in that area, but in other areas too. And I'm sure everybody sitting up there hasn't had an easy time over the last couple of months over all of this. Some of these questions people are asking are the same questions over and over again. You've gotten the answers. You're not listening. You're not reading. You're making up things or following made up things that you're seeing on social media. Do a little research. It's not that hard. There's Google. There's City Hall itself. I don't understand why these people are doing some of the things they're doing. I understand that people are worried about their properties, their taxes, and change, but change is coming. I'm like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th person that said that today. It's going to happen. So what we need to know is what can happen, which you've told us over and over again. You've all told us over and over again what can happen right this minute. And as for the developers coming in with plans that are laid out exactly what they're going to do, why would they do that? They haven't even bought the property. Why would they sink all kinds of money into all of doing all that on a property they haven't even purchased? It's understandable that people want an idea, but that is what they tried to do. They tried to give an idea. I agree with everybody. They should have never put the picture up of that building because that like inflamed everyone. But it was just an idea. That isn't exactly what they were going to put up. But you're not going to get plans for a property that somebody hasn't purchased. They even came in, and I'm not sticking up for those developers, but I'm telling you, you people got to listen. They at least came in and talked to everybody. All developers don't do that. I mean, you got to give them credit for even showing us their thoughts because they didn't have to do that. I don't know them, but I was impressed with some of the steps. I wasn't impressed with all of it either. But like everybody keeps saying it, including Eric and Colleen, who, once again, everybody fought them every step of the way. Then people are trying to make out like it was the city that took Gildog away. The city didn't take Gildog away. Colleen and Eric are ready to move on. And that's private property. But them trying to sell it has been stopped more than once by people that don't have anything into that property. So I think everybody that thinks they know exactly what to do better start ponying into their bank account. Pull out your money, you can make it anything you want. I didn't want some of the things that came into our city either. But they did because they could. And there are just certain things that can be done, and there's certain things that you can do, and there's certain things you can't. And same with all the members of the city. So we all need to do what we wanted to do a long time ago. If you all remember 5 years ago, we were pulling together hard. And everybody talked, and it didn't turn into a divided city. You know, I might not agree with you, but we can all sit down and do what we did before, because there was a time when this city was tight in the midst of chaos. And I don't know why we can't do that again over something that eventually, somehow, is going to benefit our city. And that's all I got to say, and I know I went over.
Thanks, Lisa. So the time allotted is normally 6 to 8. But if anybody else wants to speak, I'd be happy to bring you up. If not, I'll pass it over to Dave for his comments. Anybody have anything else? Anybody online? What's up? Go ahead, Dave. You had something you wanted to say?
Let's see. Shall I start from the beginning?
I'm going to pass Linda the gavel so she can.
Yeah, really. I mean, we're going to be back tomorrow. Let's keep it before midnight.
There was a person that could not make it tonight, and they indicated that they have concerns that there's homeless camped out at Olsner using the showers there on a daily basis. So this is an ongoing thing, and they just wanted to know if there's something that somebody can look into that.
Yeah, I passed another resident's concern to Matt. And I think I did, didn't I? You got that? Yeah. So okay. He's looking at that.
Can I add on that point?
What's that?
Can I add to that point?
You can ask me, and yes, you can.
We went ahead and removed the shower head and the faucet handles for now. I don't want I told Daryl not to go any further than that because I want to see if it is a homeless issue or or the public are still utilizing that, for swimming. So what we'll do is that we removed everything. We'll see how it plays out, and if necessary, have to come up with something later on.
Was that today?
Yes.
Excellent.
Ask, receive.
Perfect. Now, on another issue, Alan brought up doing something with Brasher. There's a couple of lots all along Coons Road, relatively inexpensive property. Is that something that the city could potentially look at in encouraging more green space down that direction? I don't know. It's just an idea.
What you saying, Coons?
Coons Road.
Down towards Brasher.
As soon as you turn left at the end of Old Post, those lots
along there,
about 4 or 5 lots all along there. I think they were asking for 35,000 a piece. I don't know. Is that something that we could do to help? Build out that area? That's certainly. I like some of the ideas that Alan has. Potentially to look at maybe even relocating our spoils from our dredge site, because that's a prime piece of ground that's not being used as well. If we could utilize that or even sell the spoils, we need to probably be looking into that as well. Those are some ideas.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm done.
Anybody else have anything? So I'll close for us for motion adjourn to the audience and people on Zoom and people watching live or whatever. Appreciate your attendance. I hope you like these type meetings. Like I said, once a quarter, I want to continue to have those and have good participation so we have good discussion. So I appreciate your attendance. Please come back. Tell your friends to come back. Come to our council meetings. We meet the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month at 6 p.m. We start to action items at those meetings. So we'd love to have you here to comment. With that, look for motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.